अगर आप इंडिया के स्टैटिस्टिक्स देखें, करीब 2.5 करोड़ बच्चे क्लास 10th के एग्जामिनेशन देते हैं। 2 साल बाद ये 2.5 करोड़ बच्चे हायर एजुकेशन पहुंचने चाहिए थे। बट इफ यू लुक एट हायर एजुकेशन एनरोलमेंट फिगर्स इज अबाउट 1 crore, which means that 60% of the kids drop off. 60% drop off is a huge number, right? Most students who come into higher education comes because they expect that this is going to be a pathway leading them to making their careers. But most students actually ultimately end up becoming disappointed because these degrees that most of these Indian universities give do not lead them to their first job. From business perspective, I would love to call it a fraud. This entire setup needs some sort of a revolution. And revolution has to happen at the intersection of education and employment. किसी भी बड़े employer से बात करें, आप किसी बैंक से बात करें, for example, their biggest challenge is to find skilled people in that. मिलते ही नहीं. Employers are looking at 3 things. They are looking at an evidence that you have done your formal education. They don't care about marks, right? They don't care about you got 92% or 78%. Nobody even looks at your mark sheet. They just need to ensure that you've gone through a formal education. They want to check whether you have the right skills. And third thing is, do you have any work experience? If you have this evidence of these 3 things, employers would love to take you inside. And the government of India believes that if the GER has to go up, online education has to play a very important role in this case. Any university which can link students to employers is the winner in today's market.
Before we start, Shantanu, I wanted to know about Shantanu, where he comes from, your early days, your bit of personal life, your school days, your college days.
Professionally, I've been a serial entrepreneur all this while. So last 25 years, I've been running companies. Academically, I had a good background. So I passed out class 10 from CBSE. That year, I was the All India CBSE topper. Did my high schooling from here, DPS Arkipuram, New Delhi, here. And then went to IIT. Post that, I got my first job, which was into Hewlett Packard. I worked there for 3 years and then decided that this is not for me and I want to start my own. My first company that I started was called Paradigm Infotech. It was an IT services company. I ran it for about 7 years with a friend of mine. We had a very nice IPO in the year 2005, very successful one. And I sold off, started my second venture, which was into ERP for schools and colleges in a SaaS model. Started in the year 2003. In 2009, I got acquired by a large listed company. Very happy about the money that I made that time. So sold that off and then started with TeamLease Edtech.
Okay, so you come from a business background family or you're a...
No, I'm a first generation entrepreneur, completely. No background. My father happens to be a professor, actually. Yeah.
In what, Delhi University?
No, see, we come from a small town in Jharkhand called Dumka.
Okay.
So absolutely no exposure there, but everything that I learned is by falling many times, right? So I think it's been a long journey all this.
So your roots are from Jharkhand?
Roots are from Jharkhand. I'm otherwise a Bengali by birth.
So Shantanu, what inspired you to found TeamLease Edtech and what is the mission driving the company's initiative in the education and employability sectors?
Because of my experience into education, because of my last venture, I think I have looked at education for very close quarters, right? So one of the observations that happened right here is that most students who come into higher education comes because they expect that this is going to be a pathway leading them to making their careers. But most students actually ultimately end up becoming disappointed because these degrees that most of these Indian universities give do not lead them to their first jobs, right? So that there is a lot of disappointment there, and we believed that. From business perspective, I would love to call it a fraud. I think that because students come to you to expect that I'll make a career out of the degree, these degrees do not end up in career making, I have to go for something else after my degree to make a career, right? So all this aspect where the degree is not giving the outcome to the kid, which he actually expects from it, we thought that this is not sustainable in the long term. Someday, somebody will call this fraud and say that if this degree is not giving me what I'm supposed to get, why do I need to get a degree, right? So that's where it was. So we said that is there a way to link higher education directly to employment? That's where the thought was. And we said that possibly there is a way, because if we look at it from an employer's perspective, employers are looking at 3 things. They are looking at an evidence that you have done your formal education. They don't care about marks, right? They don't care about you got 92% or 78%. Nobody even looks at your mark sheet. They just need to ensure that you've gone through a formal education. They want to check whether you have the right skills. If you're an accountant, can you operate tally? Right? So do you know what a debit versus a credit? And third thing is, do you have any work experience? If you have this evidence of these 3 things, employers would love to take you inside. Most higher education was not focused there. Most of our models are focused on degrees and grades and stuff like that, which has very little meaning for an employer. We said that this entire setup needs some sort of a revolution. And revolution has to happen at the intersection of education and employment. That's the place we said we are going to own. We created this new product called Work Linked Degree Program. Rohit. And that was interesting because what it said is, let's say student comes to a university, let's say Aligarh Muslim University, and says that I want to do BCom, right? The university now will go to say that you have two different formats of BCom. One is the regular BCom, जो आपको पता है पहले से आप करते थे. Second is a work linked BCom. The student asks, what is that? So the student is told that as soon as you take admission to the university, you will be tied with an employer. You'll get an offer letter on day one, right? So your admission letter and your employer offer letter is offered to you the same day. 3 years you'll study with the university, partly in the campus, partly online. And simultaneously and concurrently, you will work with the employer for 3 years as an intern. 3 years of work experience parallel to your academic degree, right? So you'll pass out with 3 years of work experience, number one. Number two, the employer is going to pay you monthly stipend, anywhere from about 12,000 rupees to 20,000 rupees a month, while you're still a 12th pass student, right? So there's some sort of earn while you learn in this entire concept. So by virtue of combining skill building, work experience with the academic degree, the student is now going to pass out much more qualified, much more experienced, much more skilled. And the employer loves to take this type of candidate, right? So we created this product called Work Link Degree Program, which is at the intersection. This program solves multiple problems. One is it doesn't require an additional infrastructure for skilling. आपको centers बनाने की जरूरत नहीं है because the employer workplace becomes your learning point, right? Number two, it also innovates for education financing. The problem is education, as you and I are aware, who is going to pay? Students do not want to pay, bankers are not willing to loan this kid, employers do not want to fund the kid unless you are already skilled, and government doesn't have funds today. So this model creates an innovative model where the student is being able to fund his own education because of the earning that he is doing because of all the stuff, right? So it's an ecosystem where the university benefits because they have gotten an innovative product to launch. And as you are aware that any university which can link students to employers is the winner in today's market, right? So it's a win-win for the university. The student loves it because he or she is going to earn something, and a small portion of that is something that the student is going to pay to the university as a course fee. So there's a self-financing model. So students, even from weaker sections of the society who would have otherwise fallen off education, अगर आप इंडिया के स्टैटिस्टिक्स देखें, करीब 2.5 करोड़ बच्चे क्लास 10th के एग्जामिनेशन देते हैं. 2 साल बाद ये 2.5 करोड़ बच्चे हायर एजुकेशन पहुंचने चाहिए थे. But if you look at higher education enrollment figures, it's about 1 crore, which means that 60% of the kids drop off. 60% drop off is a huge number, right? And one of our research at TeamLease Edtech said that why do kids drop off? One of the biggest reason is because they can't afford higher education. Afford का मतलब it's not the fees, it's the opportunity cost. पापा कहते हैं कि बेटा अब नहीं पढ़ा सकता, बहुत रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज है, घर पे 2 बहनें बैठी हैं, मेरा हाथ बढ़ाओ. तो बच्चा पढ़ाई छोड़कर पापा के साथ खेत में काम करता है या चाय की दुकान पे काम करता है. He falls off. Now the kids can say, पापा don't worry, मैं यूनिवर्सिटी में एडमिशन भी ले रहा हूं, मेरी Amazon में ट्रेनिंग भी लग चुकी है, मुझे 12,000 रुपए की मंथली स्टाइपेंड मिलेगा, मैं अपना खर्चा खुद उठाऊंगा, कुछ घर पे भेजूंगा. बच्चा अपना आत्मनिर्भर हो जाता है, अपने पैरों पर खड़ा हो जाता है, and he's sure shot going to become an officer one day. उसके beyond तो उसका अपनी खुद की मेहनत है, खुद की हार्ड वर्क है. But I think we are getting the student to get into a train which is going to lead them to their destination. So that was the foundation idea of TeamLease Edtech. We said that we need to innovate at the intersection of education and employment, where the kids can ultimately lead to an employer by virtue of higher education without the need for additional courses, additional repair solutions, which normally a lot of kids go through after graduation. That's what we do at the core.
Shantanu, it sounds very good for these students, but do we have also an entry barrier for these students, or anybody can roll into these programs?
Yeah, there are entry barriers, but the entry barriers are so low that anybody can, who wants to get into can get into it. So for example, there are today more than 24 universities who have already launched the programs with us. There are about 1,000 colleges who signed MOUs with us. We're going to launch them now. Each college has created their own structure. Somebody says, I want an interest test, but the interest test is very basic. Somebody says that I would like to see the 12 marks. But the entry barriers are such that if a student who has passed class 12th and wants to get into higher education and want to earn and at the same time learn, I think we have a solution for them. Maybe one university may not take that candidate, but the other one, there's enough and more universities who are willing to take them. There are enough and more employers who are going to take. If you see this entire model here, the crucial part is going to be played by the employer, because he's the financer, he's the trainer, he's the contributor into the curriculum and pedagogy, and he's a very integral part of this entire stuff. Because of our background in TeamLease, for the last 20 years, We are India's largest manpower services company. Our claim to fame has been that over the last 10 years, we have hired one person every 5 minutes in this country. So we understand the world of employers. So we have been able to get their mindset, create those requirements there, and bring close to about 2,500 employers on this platform who are waiting to take these kids, right? So thousands of employers, tens of universities, and then there's India scale.
Supply demand is
correct. And then there's India scale, right? So there are kids who possibly need this type of solutions there. That's where we believe that we have firm belief that this will bring one of the biggest revolutions of higher education in this country in times to come.
It sounds like it's more interesting than going to a regular college and not earning anything.
यही होना चाहिए ना. I think यही होना चाहिए. हमारा ये सोचना है, जैसे आप देखेंगे today there are at least 5 states who have signed MOUs with me to launch this in all their 100% of the college universities. Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Jharkhand, Assam, Maharashtra. There are many more states who are wanting to sign up. NSDC partnered with us to take this message to a lot of their centers. Common Service Center, Government of India, CSCs, they partnered with us because they want to ensure that every single CSC center in a village, हर गांव में एक छोटा सा CSC सेंटर होता है, वहां पर एक बोर्ड लगा रहेगा, आत्मनिर्भर भारत की आत्मनिर्भर डिग्री. यहाँ पे आइए, अपना यूनिवर्सिटी चूज करें, अपना एम्प्लॉयर चूज करें, अपनी जर्नी आज से चालू करें. I think that's the way this revolution is coming up. We believe that TeamLease Edtech is one of the elements of this ecosystem. हम अकेले तो बहुत कुछ ही काम कर सकते हैं, but अगर इस चीज को अगर massive बनाना है, you need an ecosystem to work together. I mean, we need people like you to help us massify these ideas through your strength. There are CSCs, there's NSDC, there are state governments, there are policymakers, there are universities, colleges, all of these people. This is an idea, right? So we are seeding an idea. I'm sure in times to come, there will be more players who will want to replicate this idea in those portals. And I think today we do degrees, but there will be diplomas which will come in the similar model, the certificates come in the similar model. I think the future of education looks like there will be multiple life forms of education, because आज के ज़माने में where the Google knows everything, there's no premium to knowing something, right? So इसमें knowledge का तो कोई value रह नहीं गया अभी. I think people need evidence that आपको काम आता है, because I think people have to know the value of work, value of calm, and actually pursue that. That's more important today.
What are some unique challenges you encountered while establishing and scaling TeamLease Edtech, particularly in context to online education landscape in India?
So I've gone through, so I'm almost a veteran in education, online education, because I spent about 10 years here in this industry. So I've seen the ups and downs, right? So one of the biggest occasion that it's a nightmare for me is when in 2015, our then education minister, Ms. Smriti Irani, decided to ban online degrees in this country, right? By that time, there were about 200 such players who used to work with universities in this online program management space. And suddenly the government says that from tomorrow, no university can offer online degrees till the time I come out of the regulation. And that was like a death nail for a lot of these edtech companies. We all lost hope. We said that ab hamara services kaun kharidega? I have nothing to sell, right? It's embargo. And but good part is that we have been entrepreneurs for quite some time. That has taught us the value of resilience, right? So we figured out ways to survive this place. People thought that the regulation will come in the next quarter and quarter after that, but it took 4 years for the government to come out of the regulation. But then there's always a brighter side to some of these things, right? So brighter side was that all of us went through a tough time, but out of this 200 universities, about 195 died down during that time. They couldn't survive. Only 4-5 of them survived. And then I think the rocket started taking off. Online education, all pervasive today. NEP and the government of India believes that if the GER has to go up, online education has to play a very important role in this case. And secondly, if the rise of an employed learner, right? So today, all this while, about a decade back, we only talked about class 12th kids going to college. But today, a lot of these people who are already working are coming back to education, right? And our focus is that by 2030, the number of employed learners is going to be more than the number of traditional learners in this industry. If that is going to happen, I think it's a great space to be in for people who are adding real value, right? You can't be fooling everybody all the time. That's a cardinal truth of business. Yeah, so I think we have gone through all of these things, all the cycles, but people who have learned from all of these experiences and people who have been able to figure out how do the end consumer, in this case, the learner or the student benefits, and being able to add real value there, I think for them, the sky is the limit.
I've always seen government being a biggest topper in any of the business. मतलब किसी को बड़ा बिजनेस करना है तो गवर्नमेंट की पॉलिसी से रातों रात चेंज कर सकती है और गवर्नमेंट की पॉलिसी रातों रात किसी भी बिजनेस को किसी भी इंडस्ट्री को खत्म कर सकती है. मतलब I've seen this in past lot of times.
Yeah.
TeamLease Edtech has a strong focus on improving employability through degree and apprenticeship programs. how do you see the role of apprenticeship evolving in the future of work, especially in digital age?
आई थिंक apprenticeship कहें, internship कहें, on job learning कहें, which ultimately it says that you learn on the job, right? I think it has got a great future. हमारा ये सोचना है कि अगर आपको कोई भी स्किल सेट सीखनी है, अगर आपको कारपेंटर बनना है, आपको प्लम्बर बनना है, इलेक्ट्रिशियन बनना है, या आपको सेल्समैन बनना है, आई थिंक इट्स बेस्ट टू लर्न क्लोजेस्ट टू द प्लेस जहां पर ये एक्चुअली यूज होता है ना? तो अगर इलेक्ट्रिशियन बनना है तो एक तो इस रूम को इलेक्ट्रिशियन का लैब बना दे, यहां सीखें, या फिर इलेक्ट्रिशियन के साथ लगकर जो जहां वो काम कर रहा है वहां सीखें। दोनों में बहुत फर्क पड़ता है। अगर आपको रिटेल में सेल्स सीखना है, एक सेल्स का ट्रेनर आके मुझे यहां सिखाए, वर्सेस मैं रिलायंस रिटेल के शोरूम पर जाकर मैं 2 हफ्ते स्पेंड करूं। आई थिंक ऑन जॉब लर्निंग का जो वैल्यू है ना, वो उसको नापना बहुत मुश्किल है। और बट इसका जो इंपॉर्टेंस है, आई इन माय माइंड इट्स अ ह्यूज इंपॉर्टेंस देयर। वन इज इट गिव्स यू रियल वर्ल्ड एक्सपीरियंस। रियल वर्ल्ड आप एक्चुअली देखते हो, लोगों को सीखते हो। सॉफ्ट स्किल्स कैसे सिखाया जाता है रोहित? आई मीन हमें आज तक समझ में नहीं आया कि सॉफ्ट स्किल्स हमारा सोचना है कि उसको सिखाया नहीं जा सकता। दे कैन बी टॉट, दे कैन बी कॉट, they can be observed, they can be imitated। मैं आपको देखकर सीख सकता हूं, मेरे को बताएगा तो नहीं सीखूंगा मैं। तो अगर एक बच्चा रोज ऑफिस जाता है तो समझ में आ जाता है कि ऑफिस में ड्रेस कैसे पहनते हैं, महिलाओं से बात कैसे करते हैं, प्रिंटिंग कहां से होती है, पानी कहां से लेते हैं। he learns all the soft skills while being at the job। I think that's very important, number one। Number two, the second advantage that the kid gets is to create a network of professionals which is going to be of immense value। हम लोगों ने सामने सीखा है कि जैसे आप अपने करियर में ग्रो करते हो, the biggest thing that you need is to create a professional network। वहां जाकर आप कलीग से मिलते हो, सीनियर से मिलते हो, कोई आपको कुछ गाइडेंस देता है, कुछ आपको कुछ सिखाता है। ये सीखना उस हवा में होता है, जो सीखना चाहता है वो सीख जाता है। That's one part। Number two, apprenticeship brings an innovation in education financing। मैं आपको बता रहा था that it brings a scenario where the employer, who is the ultimate beneficiary of all the skilling learning, becomes the funder to this entire thing। And from an employer perspective, we have published a few reports there, said that employers love to make this investment because for them, they feel that the ROI for them is much, much higher। Because आज किसी भी बड़े employer से बात करें, आप किसी बैंक से बात करें, for example, their biggest challenge is to find skilled people in that bank। मिलते ही नहीं उनको। So if they're being participating in this process of manufacturing their own employees is a great model। So I think that, and the world is moving towards a scenario where the world of academia and the world of employers are going to merge। बहुत जल्दी आप देखें, धीरे धीरे ये merge होता चला जा रहा है, दोनों बहुत पास आ रहे हैं। Whereas universities are talking, figuring out apprenticeship, internship, on the job training, placement वगैरह important हो रही है। Even employers are thinking about the concept of corporate universities। As you are aware, there's so many of the corporates that run their own universities today because the traditional university is not doing their job। So I think these people are coming together, and a lot of these things, and apprenticeship and internship is a product which sits at this intersection। मुझे लग रहा है कि चाहे हमारे गवर्नमेंट की बात करें, NEP की बात करें, या फिर ग्लोबल एजुकेशन के मूवमेंट की बात करें, ये जो इंटरसेक्शन ऑफ एजुकेशन एम्प्लॉयमेंट है ना, वो बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग होने वाला है आगे। इस जगह पे जितना इनोवेशन होने वाला है, आई थिंक पीपल हु आर लुकिंग एट इनोवेशन ऑन दिस एरिया आर द पीपल हु विल हैव राइट टू विन इन द कमिंग इयर्स।
हाँ, सही बताया आपने। आई हैव सीन हीरो ने स्टार्ट किया, महिंद्रा ने स्टार्ट किया,
मारुति सुजुकी ने स्टार्ट किया, बैंक्स ने स्टार्ट किया, दे आर ऑल, इन्फोसिस ने स्टार्ट किया, दे ऑल इन्वेस्टिंग ऑन दिस थिंग्स।
विप्रो ने स्टार्ट किया, यूनिवर्सिटी,
रिलायंस ने स्टार्ट किया, सब स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं। I think the world is started merging, put together, and that is something, and we have to be ready for that change now।
You recently launched Digivarsity, India's first AI-powered work-integrated degree and career discovery platform। How do you envision technology revolutionizing traditional career guidance and education planning?
हमारी जो ट्रेडिशनल हायर एजुकेशन है रोहित, उसमें आप देखें क्लास 12 के बाद एक स्टूडेंट, एक बच्चा अपना कैरियर के लिए डिसाइड करता है, मैं कॉमर्स लूं, आर्ट्स लूं, साइंस लूं। अगर आप उस बच्चे की नजर देखें, 12th के बाद अच्छे बच्चे को पता क्या होता है? कुछ पता नहीं होता।
मेट्रो सिटीज में फिर भी
थोड़ा सा पापा मम्मी कुछ बता देते होंगे, नीचे कुछ नहीं पता। तो बच्चे अपने दोस्तों के इन्फ्लुएंस में, किसी बड़े भाई के इन्फ्लुएंस में, जो खुद ही शायद ठीक से नहीं जानते, उनके बेसिस पे कोर्स सिलेक्ट कर लेते हैं, और वही वो कोर्स उसके फ्यूचर का एक सूत्रधार बन जाता है। आई थिंक दैट इज अ प्रॉब्लम दैट वी थिंक दैट स्टूडेंट्स नीड टू डू अ लॉट ऑफ एक्सपेरिमेंटेशन व्हाइल दे आर स्टिल लर्निंग। आवर कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ वर्क इंटीग्रेटेड लर्निंग वर्क्स एज अ टेस्ट ड्राइव फॉर द किड। वो जब मान लीजिए वो बीकॉम में डिग्री कर रहा है, बीए कर रहा है, बीएससी कर रहा है, बीबीए कर रहा है, कुछ भी डिग्री आप सिलेक्ट करें, आप ये 3 साल के दौरान आप कई सारे एम्प्लॉयज के साथ काम कर सकते हैं। आप 6 महीना रिटेल में काम करें, 6 महीना बैंक्स में काम करें, 1 साल आप मैन्युफैक्चरिंग काम करें, आप कई सारी चीजें ट्राई करें, जिससे आपको पता चले कि अपना सुपर पावर क्या है। हर बच्चे के अंदर एक सुपर पावर होता है। कोई सेल्स में अच्छा होता है, कोई पेंटिंग में अच्छा होता है, कोई गाना गाने में अच्छा होता है। यू हैव टू फिगर, ओनली पीपल आर नॉट अवेयर ऑफ व्हाट द सुपर पावर इज। by trying out multiple things, they start discovering what is their innate strength and innate preferences. And आज के जमाने में, आज आपको पता है जिस तरह से दुनिया बदल रही है, आप किसी भी कला में अगर आप अच्छे हो, आपके लिए कैरियर के प्रॉब्लम नहीं, किसी भी चीज में, राइट? आज तो बच्चे सिर्फ सोशल मीडिया देख देख के यूट्यूबर बन जाते हैं, वो कैरियर बना रहे हैं. आई थिंक एनीथिंग दैट यू आर गुड एट, if you pursue that, you are a great career to make. Only thing is to discover what is my strength and figuring out an opportunity to pursue that. I think Digivarsity does that. So at Digivarsity, we have said that this is one platform where the student will pick up their university and their employer on the day one. There are two ways to reach that. A traditional program, a traditional platform would say that, where the student will come and say that I'm looking to do BCom from this university or BCom from any university, give me a comparison, right? This works for a student who is already enlightened. उसे पता है कि मुझे BCom करनी है. कई सारे बच्चों को नहीं पता है उस क्या कोर्स करना चाहिए. वो सिर्फ जानता है मुझे बड़ा होकर ना सरकारी नौकरी करनी है. उसे ये पता होता है कि मुझे बैंकर बनना है, बड़ा होकर मुझे इस कंपनी का MD बनना है. उसको सिर्फ उतना पता है, ड्रीम पता है. So at Digivarsity we said that put your dream there and let the platform create a pathway for you. वो प्लेटफॉर्म आपको एडवाइस करता है, अगर आप ये बनना चाहते हैं 5 साल के अंदर, तो आपको ये रास्ता चूज करना चाहिए. आप इस तरह की डिग्री करें, ये 3 डिग्री में से एक करें. तो बच्चा बोलता है मैं ये डिग्री करना चाहता हूं. Okay? अब ये डिग्री में से आप ये 5-7 यूनिवर्सिटी में से आप चूज करें कौन सा करना चाहते हैं. बिकॉज दिस कॉम्बिनेशन लुक्स फाइन. वंस यू सिलेक्ट दैट, देन इट टेल्स यू दैट यू मस्ट डू योर इंटर्नशिप इन वन ऑफ दीज इंडस्ट्रीज, इन दीज जॉब रोल्स फ्रॉम वन ऑफ दीज एम्प्लॉयर्स. पिक और चूज, राइट? एंड हेल्प्स the person make a la carte bouquet for himself, herself, where he's now going to get co-parented by 2 people. One is the university, second is the employer. Usko mata pita dono milte hain and his journey starts. He gets the admission letter and the appointment letter on day 1, right? So that's what Digivarsity is trying to do. We believe it's a new initiative. Yeah.
Online education has seen tremendous growth, especially in recent years. How has TeamLease Edtech adapted to this shift? And what strategies have you implemented to ensure the quality and effectiveness of online learning programs?
So online education, हम सबको पता है कि obviously it has a lot of potential. But because of misadventure of so many other tech companies, I think it has also earned a lot of disrepute, right? Because you just started packaging PowerPoint presentation as e-learning material. It's not that. You have to ensure that online content is engaging, it's personalized, and it can provide real value to the kid. I think at TeamLease Edtech, we have tried many things, and so many things didn't work for us, but we have also figured out things that are working for us, right? How do you make the journey personalized for the kid? Number one. How to gamify the learning? Because traditional learning is not something that intuitively comes to a kid. It's not something that people find interesting. सुबह उठकर आप सबसे पहले अपना LMS नहीं खोलते, सबसे पहले अपना Facebook या Instagram देखते हैं. How do you make this education more engaging for yourself, right? How to gamify this? How to make it social? I think those are the areas where we have done a lot of work. And that's one part. Second is we have used a lot of this AI engines and a lot of these Gen AI solutions to figure out how do you match a kid's career aspiration to the right industry and the employer. That's a big challenge, and we have been trying to figure a solution for this for the last about a decade or so, because finding this is very difficult. I mean, लोगों के aspirations को employer को opening के साथ match करना एक बहुत बड़ा algorithm है. इतना आसान नहीं जितना हमें कभी-कभी लगता है दूर से, because India has lots of different type of a challenge, right? So, for example, electrician in Balasore, the same electrician, when he goes from Balasore to Lucknow, gets double the salary. From Balasore, he comes to Bangalore, he gets triple the salary. I think we have place-wise salaries differences. We have employer concentration very differently set. All of this put together, it's a complex solution to solve. So I think we have tried to figure out a solution which personalizes education, gamifies solution, and ultimately leads a kid to their ultimate destiny, which is the employer. We believe that somebody said that, Shantanu, my education quality is the best. A lot of universities that I keep on meeting saying that I want to provide the best of education, best of academics. My content is the best. So I've been telling a lot of promoters all this while that please think from a student perspective. Do they care? Right? Your content is the best. So what? Your academics is the best. So what? You have to figure out what the student needs. Student बोलता है यार इससे नौकरी मिलेगी क्या? सीधा बताओ. जब आप IIT के एग्जाम देते हो, JEE के एग्जाम देते हैं, या आप CAT के एग्जाम देते हैं IIM के लिए, कभी आपने सोचा कि उसके कंटेंट कितना अच्छा है IIT का? या वहां पढ़ाएगा कौन मुझे? आपको पता है कि IIT की डिग्री चाहिए, बिकॉज IIT की डिग्री सिग्निफाइज टू यू दैट इट लीड्स टू करियर मेकिंग. बस मेरे पापा खुश हुए थे जिस दिन मेरा JEE में एडमिशन हो गया था, ये सोच करके इसका करियर बन गया. किड्स आर इंटरेस्टेड इन मेकिंग देयर करियर्स. So if your education leads into making the career, you are good quality, otherwise you can claim whatever to be, the student thinks otherwise, right? So we have been telling universities that you have to make education holistic. You have to make education more participative. एक प्रोफेसर बैठ के लेक्चर दे रहा, वो टाइम चला गया. You have to figure out ways to engage this kid and figure out way to make it more collaborative with the employer. आप अकेले नहीं कर पाओगे. अगर आप न्यूटन्स लॉ पढ़ाते रहोगे उसको बोरिंग हो जाता है उसके लिए. Figure out ways where he can study the theory from you and start applying this on a day-to-day basis at the workplace. इस चीज से उसको उसमें इंटरेस्ट आता है. वो जब एक मान लीजिए कि एक रिटेल सेल स्टोर पे जाता है, वहां प्रॉब्लम्स देखता है, एम्प्लॉयर किस तरह से कस्टमर्स आते हैं, किस तरह से उनको प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है, एंड देन दैट थियरी इज टॉट टू हिम इन द क्लास, ही स्टार्ट्स फाइंड कनेक्टिंग इट और एंड स्टार्ट्स सेइंग दैट कल मैं ये ट्राई करूंगा, ये नया चीज. I think that's the way education has to evolve. TeamLease Edtech is trying many experiments in this case because we believe that the future of education is going to be very different from what it is today. It's going to be, one is it's going to be multiple life forms. There will be universities, there will be colleges, there will be private service providers like you and me, and there will be government, so many people. There will be employers who will teach. But one thing which is going to be a constant is that the future looks like something which is always on the go, online, on site, on the job, modular, multimodal, multilingual, crowdsourced, gamified. It's going to have all of these traits in education. वो एक 3 साल की डिग्री वाला एजुकेशन का टाइम खत्म हो चुका है. It's becoming more stackable credential staff education times to come.
So collaboration with universities is a key aspect of TeamLease Edtech strategy. Could you tell us how these partnerships and structure and impact they have on both the students and institutions?
Our core happened to be here with that we will partner with universities because universities bring two, three different things. One is they bring credibility. Student को पता है कि अगर यूनिवर्सिटी डिग्री दे तो चोर नहीं है, so चीटिंग नहीं हो जाएगी. So they bring credibility. Number 2, they also have some sort of a statutory signaling value. लड़का बीटेक है, अगर मेरा सर्टिफिकेट होगा उससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा बच्चों को. So that was important. So we said that all the products and services that we will build will be to empower these universities and so that they can launch these solutions. That's the way we are always strategized. We never wanted to launch these products on our brand name because that was not important. For us, we believed that अगर India scale पे कुछ बड़ा करना है, कुछ really important, interesting कर रहा है, तो you need an ecosystem to work together. Universities are a very important part of my ecosystem. So instead of, we never wanted to become a franchisee of a university. We never want to do that. We said that we'll sit behind the university. We'll create products and services which will empower this university to launch a product from that side which will change the lives of kids. Other side will bring employers, will do innovation, the technology front and all this together. So for that, we said that we need many universities to take this message outwards. Right? Today, we work with close to about 65 universities in the country. We work with several of the IITs and the IIMs and IIITs as of now. And there are thousands and thousands of colleges who have partnered with us or wanting to partner with us in this innovative model today. As I was telling you, there are 5 states who have already signed an MOU with us, which says that please roll this out in 100% of my universities and colleges, 100%. So Maharashtra, we're launching it in every university. Andhra Pradesh, we're launching it in every single university. Because we need these universities to transform. If higher education has to transform, these universities and colleges will have to be at the forefront of this revolution. That's the message, and that's the reason we said that we need to partner with many universities there.
As a serial entrepreneur, what lessons have you learned along the way that you have shaped your approach to leadership and business strategy?
So many of them. I can keep on talking for hours per se. People define entrepreneurship very differently, but I said that entrepreneurship is the art of staying alive long enough to get lucky. You never know luck kaise aayega, kis form mein aayega. You have to figure out way to stay alive because you go through lots of ups and downs. You are aware of this, and it comes from all different quarters, right? I also realized that we all make plans and we all make Excel sheets, right? But all plans are useless. But planning is inevitable. You have to make those plans there. But normally, to make an organization, you normally need more time than what you thought you will need. आप सोच रहे थे कि आप 5 साल में यहां तक पहुंच जाओगे. सर 5 साल नहीं पहुंच पाओगे, 7 साल लगेगा, 8 साल लगेगा, 9 साल लगेगा. It doesn't matter. But you normally need more time. And if you need more time, you need more money because money is a proxy for time. If you have more money, you can actually, carry it around for more longer time. And hence, one thing that I've learned is the value of money in this organization, right? So we realized that you shouldn't spend 2 rupees to earn one, number one. You have to ensure that you're not thrifty, but then at the same time, you're not wasting money. The value of money is something that I've learned hard way. And at TeamLease Edtech, we said that we want to run a profitable business. We want to have profitable growth because there are people who asked me, there are investors who came to me and asked me, Shantanu, you're chasing profit or you're chasing growth? I said, I'm choosing profitable growth. That's the way. And for the last 5 years, we have been a profitable company. So we can fund ourselves. We're self-sustainable. Does it mean that we are missing growth? No, I think we are growing at a fantastic rate. We are growing at about 60% year on year. It's a good growth rate and healthy growth rate because we believe that running a business is not a 2-5 years business job. It's a perpetual job. You have to ensure that your company stays alive forever. That's the core of an entrepreneur. And if you can ensure that you are staying alive, you'll be successful. आपको 3 साल 5 साल लग सकते हैं, 5 साल 10 साल लग सकते हैं, doesn't matter. If you're staying alive, you'll be successful for sure. And few things which are core in this case is, one is value for money. Second thing I've learned is that the value of governance in the organization. How do you ensure that you're not doing shortcuts? You're doing for the long term. You don't take shortcuts in business ever, because that is something which becomes dagger in the heart, right? So there could be, when you take decisions, you have to ensure that the step that you're taking is a thorn in the flesh or a dagger in the heart, right? Something which can kill you, or it's a small irritant, right? So you take decisions accordingly, and you have to ensure that governance wise, you're not making any shortcuts. If you keep your governance levels high, transparency very high, reporting, accounting formats, you're not hiding costs, you're not pre-booking revenue, you're not hiding debt, you're making this transparent. I think you're setting a very strong foundation for the organization. And the last thing is the value of teams. As entrepreneurs, we realize that at times जब हम शुरू में पहली बार एंटरप्रेन्योर बनते हैं, हमें लगता है हम गॉड हैं, हम सब कुछ कर सकते हैं. But slowly as you mature, you realize that you're just a facilitator. Your job is not facilitate. Your job is to bring the team together who will perform. You need sales people who are better sales guys than you. You need product guys who are better product guys than you. You need marketing guys who are better than you. But you sitting at the core as the director of that movie, at the sutradhar of all of these things, is the core role of an entrepreneur. I think that is something that I've learned the hard way, and so happy about this part. I think I know of thousands of ways companies fail, because I would have gone through some of these things. I know things that will not work while you keep on planning for them. But I've also learned how to build a long-term sustainable organization which will grow, which will build value, and the value of a vision, right? So initially when I started my first organization, people told me that when you start a company, you have a vision statement and mission statement, something that hangs on that wall of yours. Only you remember, nobody else remembers that, right? So nobody values that part. We realize though all of these things, but as we go forward, we realize that the vision of the company is so important. It's something that's not to be written on the wall, but something to be believed on, something to be lived every day. If you can align the company around the vision, I think people find a purpose for themselves. Then you will start finding people who believe in that purpose starting joining you. There are people who come to you for money, or people who come to you because they believe in what you believe. If you can get that thing together, I think you're building a long-term sustainable org. So it is an infinite game, right? Nobody wins business. Nobody becomes number one in business, because number one क्या होता है, कितने दिनों के लिए होता है, पता नहीं, right? G used to be number one a few years back. Where is it now? So I think it's a perpetual game, and you have to ensure that you stay alive for the next 25 years. You can ensure that if you can build your organization around that thing, you'll be successful. That's the way I've seen entrepreneurship.
How do you perceive the future of higher education with the emergence of concepts like University 4.0? What role do you see technology playing in reshaping the education landscape?
That's very interesting, Rohit. But we have always believed that the world of education and the world of employment is coming closer together now. And to do that, universities will have to transform themselves. Everything, right from the way classrooms are built, for example, the way teachers deliver lectures, the way curriculums are built, the way students are trained, the way financing is thought, the way assessment and examinations are done. I think all of these things needs innovation. And there's a lot to be done in these areas, and it requires a whole ecosystem to make this change. Only if we leave it just to university, say that you need to change this way, it will never work. I think it's a collaborative work. So we see that the future of education is something which is going to be very, very collaborative. There will be lots of life forms of education, each trying to do different experiments. You spoke about so many experiments that you are trying at your place, where you are revolutionizing the way the ITI education works, for example, how you are building long-term career growth path for kids who would have otherwise got stuck there. There are people who are converting training centers into pseudo colleges. I think all of these experiments are going to be interesting in times to come, and all of these things will coexist in times to come, because the future is dynamic. You do not know what the future is going to look like. None of us know that, right? But you're trying many things to make sure that you're worthy for the future which is going to come up. The world of AI is going to change so many things, right? And just I was reading Elon Musk's statement the other day. He said that it's going to wipe off all jobs in this world. That may be an exaggeration of a statement, but then definitely it's a disruptive. In this case, where you yourself are not aware of what the future is looking like, how do you train your kids to get themselves prepared for the future? I think you need to ensure that their core values, their core cognitive skills, these are getting strong so that they can adapt to the changing world. I think the future of education is something which is going to be multimodal, which is going to be modular. People would not going to come back to you asking for a 4-year degree program. They're going to come to you taking a 5 days course, a 7 days course, a 2 months course, 3 months course, and collect credentials there like those fixed deposit receipts and then say that I collect all of these things and convert them to a degree, diploma, certificate the way they want in case I want it to. But the world is going to move towards recognizing all these credits which are going to come into your ABC bank rather than just a monolithic one single degree. Evidence of skills and experience is going to become very important, and people will have to innovate at the intersection of for financing all of these things. And Einstein famously said that if you start measuring a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it'll live its life thinking that's stupid. It's correct. People will have to find their own superpower and pursue what they're best at. Today, I think world is very different from what it used to be 2 decades back. And it embraces people with open arms of people who want to pursue their own passion. And kids just need to find that. And universities, colleges, schools, I think will have to figure out a way to help these kids pursue that part. I think some of the experiments are already happening, and some of these universities that I keep meeting, I've heard about very interesting experiments that these teams are doing there. I think the future looks very bright.
NEP would also allow multiple entry exits, and getting your first semester done from one university and then go work in the environment and then come back. So you have ample time to collect all these.
Absolutely. NEP is a great vision document. You said it very simplistically, but then it's a very different life for those universities and colleges. Look at the same thing that you talked about, where the student is the king. In this particular case, the consumer is the king.
Like multiple, what do we call that? Shifting from Airtel to Vodafone.
Correct. Portability. Portability. So, which says that I go to a college, I study with them for 3 months. Now, if I don't like you, I'll port myself out and go to some other college. It's good for the kid, but look at this thing from the perspective of the college now. It says that if you can't give value to the kid, he will move out. Move out. Actually, then what happens to the college? If all kids start moving out, your existence becomes a challenge. Which means that all of these providers of education will have to seriously look at transforming them. And since you asked technology, in today's world, you can't do without technology. Technology is like an operating system in a computer, right? You can't have a kid who is not digitally aware of things, who can't operate a Word, Excel, PowerPoint. That's become like an operating system. It is the fourth important skill that a kid needs to have. And universities who are bereft of this technology stuff possibly will become chapters in history in some time. They will have to ensure that they adopt technology, everything, right from the way you enroll kids, the way you select them, the way you train them, the way you assess them, the way you upskill them, the way you measure their engagement, everything else. I think technology has got a very important role to play. Make sure that you have data, you have information, you have analytics, using which you can decide what should be your next course of action rather than just depending on your gut feeling.
Would you share any memorable experiences from your journey with TeamLease Edtech that have reinforced your commitment and company's mission? I'm sure you must be having many.
Yeah. So many of them. When you go to many of these universities, meet these kids, meet their parents, I think it gives you a different sense of satisfaction and joy, right? So many stories, and I can keep talking about it. Just last year, we published a book called Making India Employable. That's our vision, that's our mission, that's our purpose of life. We said that one child at a time, and we published 20 stories of kids who have been impacted by this mission of ours and what it did. I remember there's this university in a very small town in Bihar called Darbhanga. I'd gone there during their convocation, and there are this 20 girls who had gone through this concept of work-linked learning from us. This girl was becoming a commercial pilot. This father, and the parents, if you want to see that, they come from a very, very economically weak family. घर पे दो वक्त का खाना भी मुश्किल होता है. We picked up this kid because the kid was very bright and she applied for one of these degree programs. But the father said that I can't afford this part because commercial license pilot education was expensive. Good part is TeamLease Edtech has signed up with lots of organizations who are willing to contribute their CSR funds to fund these kids, to make them employable. So we found our employer, and it was Honda who decided to do that. And this girl was in her uniform that day and was signing off as a commercial pilot. You should have seen the father. He must be about 60, 65. You want to touch my feet. Obviously, something that makes you feel so humble. किस तरह से एक पूरी फैमिली की, एक गांव की, एक जनरेशन का पूरा लाइफ चेंज हो जाता है आपके एक छोटे से आंसर। कभी कभी हम जब ऑफिस में बैठते हैं और अपने चेंबर्स में बैठते हैं, हमें वो समझ में नहीं आता कि आपके उस इम्पैक्ट से उस बच्चे की लाइफ कितनी बदल रही है, और उससे उसके फैमिली, उसके पॉसिबली फ्यू जनरेशंस की लाइफ बदल जाती है, पूरे गांव की बदल जाती है। दिस गर्ल वाज फीलिंग सो प्राउड दैट शी इज द फर्स्ट such professional coming out from that village, that dad never thought that she will come out. She's going to earn handsome handsome, and going to become a role model for so many of these kids. We come across so many of these examples of kids. I mean, we have a lovely WhatsApp group in the organization. Every alternate day, some of the centers are sending us out their success stories about how they impacted life. And so our mission has been to making India employable, so that only share stories where you have changed lives of people. Right. So every day in all our WhatsApp groups, I'll keep on saying people that this center has today ensured that 20 of the kids coming from these families now have changed their lives. मुझे छोटी सी और कहानी याद आ गई. मुझे एक बच्चे ने बताया था, उसकी मम्मी बॉम्बे में आई थी एंड उसके पापा नहीं थे. And this lady used to be a buy in everybody's house. She used to wash utensils and everything. उनका एक ही सपना था कि मेरे 2 बच्चे हैं, उनको मैं किसी तरह पढ़ा लिखा कर अपने पैरों पर खड़ा करूं. किसी तरह से उन्होंने अपने स्कूल की फीस तो उन्होंने भर दी थी, बट कॉलेज का आते आते ना उनको बड़ा तकलीफ हो गया कि अब कॉलेज नहीं पढ़ा पाऊंगी मैं इसको. किसी तरह से बच्चे को हमारे बारे में पता चला था, and she had come across, and he had joined one of our work integrated degree programs. That day, the mother was telling me that day कि मुझे इतना अच्छा लगा जिस दिन बच्चा मम्मी को बोला कि मैं आपके साथ काम पे जाऊंगा आज. और जाकर उसने जब घंटी बजी, उसने उनको बताया कि मैम थैंक यू, मेरी मम्मी ने आपके यहाँ इतने सालों काम किया, आज मेरी नौकरी लग गई है, मेरी मम्मी को अब काम करने की जरूरत नहीं है. So I love that part, you know. वो मम्मी रो रही थी, मेरे गूज़बम्प्स आ रहे हैं जिसमें मैं सुन रहा हूँ. रो रही थी कि मेरे बच्चे को आपने हमारी लाइफ बदल दी. हमने कहा हमने कुछ खास नहीं किया इसमें, शायद हम एक फैसिलिटेटर हैं, बच्चे ने मेहनत की है, हमारा काम था एक अपॉर्चुनिटी दिलाना बच्चे को कि डिग्री के साथ साथ एक वर्क एक्सपीरियंस मिले, उसको एक फंडिंग मिल जाए जिससे वो अपना घर भी चला सक रहा है और अपना एजुकेशन भी कर रहा है. बट आई थिंक we are trying to change people's life one at a time.
Looking ahead, what are your aspirations for TeamLease Education in terms of its continued growth and impact of students, universities, and employers across India?
So for us, we look at this big problem, Rohit, and we are focused on making India employable. We are sure that we alone cannot do it. We need a complete ecosystem. We are a company who believes in partnerships. That's what we believe is. So we partner with universities and colleges and employers and government bodies and state governments, central government. We are partnering with, for example, today, as I'm here, one of my colleagues is meeting National Career Services, people who run the employment exchanges of India, the government of India, right? So they want to partner with us to say that we want to make sure that every single employment exchange of government of India has this product called Digivarsity there. कि अगर employment exchange में एक बच्चा आता है, उसको नौकरी नहीं लगती है, उसके पास एक second alternative है to route to get to the employment, right? So I think we are making something very interesting and important for the country. And these partnerships are going to make this become a movement in times to come. We want to become the catalyst in making this movement. If we do something which is really good for the kid, good for this education institutions, good for the employer, and good for the country, I think we'll build an interesting business. पैसे आ जाएंगे, revenues आ जाएंगे, profit आ जाएगा. I think that's not a problem today anymore. Today, good part, I mean, touch wood, but then एक मुझे याद आ रहा है 5 साल पहले तक हम यूनिवर्सिटी जाते थे साइन अप करने के लिए, सेल्स कॉल में डिस्कस करते थे. Today, universities come to my office to say that we want to partner with you in this particular model. I think we are trying to do something. I'm sure we'll learn in the process. At India scale, if we are being able to successfully do this, I think we'll build a large organization. Making India employable is our dream, is our passion, is our mission, the purposeful life. I'm not too sure we'll ever achieve that. That's a goal that आप कभी भी achieve नहीं कर सकते, but you love dying fighting for it. So mission तो ऐसा होना चाहिए जिसके प्यार में आप जान देने का मन करे, right? So that's something that keeps us alive. And I think we have tried to ensure that our organization thinks like that. Everybody, every single initiative, every single experiment, every single project that we do, it has to link to student becoming employable. It has to link to employers building their talent supply chain. It has to ensure that universities find a long life for themselves and relevance for themselves in times to come. That's have been our mission. And we just want to ensure that we remain a cause and a company, both. And if you continue to pursue that, we will build an interesting organization in times to come.
Thank you, Shantanu. It was lovely.
It was a pleasure speaking to Rohit. Thank you so much.